Hi, my name is Patrick, and I see you're on the website. So I wanted to introduce you to not only who I am, but to the neuro-tri way. The neuro-tri way is the subconscious modality that I have invented specifically to remove trauma. And by remove trauma, I mean get it out of your body, get it out of your mind, get it out of your body, and get it out of your spirit. Because you are a mind, body, and spirit. And it took me probably 2 years of digging into all the subconscious modalities in the world, trying to figure out how does one remove trauma from the mind, the body, and the spirit, because we are a mind, body, and spirit. So the truth is nobody is doing it that way, so I had to invent it. And how I invented it is by taking from different healing modalities that already existed on the planet and modeling them. So my background is I got Lyme disease back in 2008, and I became chronic. I couldn't beat it. Doctors couldn't beat it. So eventually I went on my own way, and I found which I didn't know at the time, I modeled literally who was the best in the world, who's lived the longest, who's the healthiest, who's the fastest, who's the best nutritionist in the world, who's the best herbalist in the world, who's best at curing things naturally in the world. I combined all of those as one, and then what I did was I took about 25 herbs or 30 herbs, combined those as one, and then took them through juicing, because I found that juicing was the best thing for you on the planet, and adding herbs to that juice basically sped up the healing process and ensured my recovery. And now here I am 12 years later, I'm an Iron Man. So I've ran 146.6 miles as an Iron Man, swimming, biking, and running. So I've taken my health from just a normal person to, an Iron Man status. So that's amazing. But how I did that was by modeling after the best in the world. Who's the best in the world? I didn't look for anything else. So once I got into kind of beat Lyme disease, I created an herbal company, because I was, practically an herbalist at this point, and I started selling herbs online. And over 10 years, I found a speech pattern in people that herbs wouldn't help them, doctors couldn't help them, nothing under the sun actually was helping them. They just couldn't heal for whatever reason under the sun. And I was able to see that speech pattern for years. And I realized that, I would tell them the herbs don't help you, I'll give you the herbs for free. So before I got Lyme disease, I was a, what do they call it? This is what Lyme disease does to you. You can't remember things. I was a, what the hell was it called? I was a, had to do with money and finance. I can't remember the name. So this is what Lyme has left me with, which is like the neuro part of Lyme, where my memory isn't always great all the time. I was a financial advisor. Jesus, Mary, and Joseph. That's not a big word. So I was a financial advisor. So before I got Lyme, I was a financial advisor. And how financial advising works is that you are literally sitting in front of a computer and you are watching these trend lines. And these trend lines are telling you what happened 20 years ago, 15 years ago, 10 years ago, 3 years ago. And there is no future. So you're supposed to, as a financial advisor, follow the trend, understand what's happening currently, take what you think is going to be happening in the future, and then add it to this past history of what did happen in the past that was, you think, is similar to the future. And then how is this going to work out in the future for this specific mutual fund or stock? So am I supposed to buy, sell, or trade, or what am I supposed to do with this stock, for example, based on historical data and the trend lines? So when you spend all day just following trends and patterns, basically everything after that, I modeled, after that, which is everything's basically a trend line. Health has a trend. Finances have a trend, credit has a trend. mortgage interest rates, everything follows some sort of a trend line. So I have a very good training on how to find algorithms. So when I was doing my herbal business, I found these algorithms in people's speech patterns. And the speech pattern ultimately turned out to be trauma. I didn't know that, but it took about 7 years to about 5 years to figure out, oh, this is trauma. All these people have one thing in common. They had childhood trauma, and it was mostly sexually abuse. And this is why they weren't healing. So their speech pattern was revealing that they had past childhood trauma. And once I figured out, that when people turn about 32 years old, their body just breaks down and they get a chronic illness. So the little bad part of this story is that my daughter told me that for many years she was being sexually abused by our babysitter, who was a next door neighbor, who was a dear friend, and who was in his 80s. So it's the last person I would think on the planet would be doing something like that. So obviously this is horrible information, but I knew that once my 14-year-old daughter hits 30, she's going to get a tsunami of health conditions. And I wanted to stop it. I want to put an end to it. So now I have to do the work to figure out how does one stop or remove trauma from somebody's body, so when they get to be 30 years old, they're not going to get sick. So that was the job I tasked myself with. So it took me about 2 years to figure out how does one remove trauma. So I figured out where trauma lives, how it works, how it moves to your body, how it moves to your body, your spirit, mind, body, spirit. I get it. So now I have to figure out who has fixed the mind, body, spirit. And the answer was nobody. What you're going to find is people who know how to fix the mind, people who know how to fix the body, and people who know how to fix the spirit, but not all three. Nobody was treating all three as one. And my problem was, we are a mind, we are a body, we are a spirit, and trauma lives in all of these things. And you just can't remove it from the mind and leave it in the body and the spirit. And you just can't leave it in the body and leave it in the spirit. Like, it has to go completely, because it is literally taking over your autonomic nervous system. So people are trapped in the fight or flight patterns because of their past childhood trauma. And when you're caught, or your body is in a fight or flight pattern, it literally turns off your immune system on purpose, because to hell with your common cold, there's a jaguar in the backyard. That's what your body thinks, because it is stuck on the on position from the trauma that happened in the past. And now 30 years later, you've got all these belief systems about the trauma that may or may not be true, but you're not able as a person to go fix your trauma, because your body will not allow you, your mind will not allow your body or your spirit or any part of you to go to where the trauma lives. And probably the most important thing to understand is that when your autonomic nervous system has hijacked your body and turned off your immune system on purpose because it is trapped in a fight or flight response, any food that you put in your mouth, when you do this, doesn't matter if it's a green leafy vegetable or a vitamin or a mineral or a drug or an apple, when you do this and it goes into your throat and goes down into your tummy, your body, because you're in fight or flight response, your body breaks down the food into sugar, so you have the energy to fight or flight. You no longer break down food into vitamins and minerals. Even your prescription drugs break down in a weird way, ultimately for one goal, which is get you the hell out of here, or give you the energy to fight. Because your autonomic nervous system has shut off your immune system and then converted your energy source, your vitamin source, your food source, to an energy source, which doesn't help you at all when it comes to healing. And that's why you can't heal. And that's cool if you're 18 years old and 22 years old and 15 years old. Your body is just so magnificent that it can function. But once you get to like 30ish, your body can't function like that anymore. And it is literally like you're driving 65 miles per hour in third gear. That's okay on a brand new engine, but about 3 years later, that engine will seize and break down. And in your situation, that's 30ish years old. Your body can't handle going 65 miles per hour in third gear anymore, and there's a complete breakdown. So it almost proves there is a God, because the trauma is so deep in your brain, it lives like in the roof of your mouth. It is so deep in your brain, you cannot go there. So I took something called, I figured out that it's a subconscious modality. This trauma lives in your subconscious mind. So what are the things on the planet that are most effective at healing or getting into the subconscious mind? And what I found was those are EFT, emotional freeing technique, NLP, neuro-linguistic programming, hypnosis, and one that doesn't work with the subconscious mind, but somehow does, which is muscle testing. So these these four things will get into the spirit side, or the mind, body, and spirit side. Those four things on the planet are what work. So what I did, which is unique to me and how I work with people as far as like my life coaching goes, is that I took my financial background, and I also took from NLP experts like Stephen Bandler and Anthony Robbins. These people, Anthony Robbins specifically, modeled his whole self after Stephen Bandler, which is the guy that created NLP. Tony Robbins is very successful. We pretty much all know who Tony Robbins is. All Tony Robbins did was model what Stephen Bandler did. And what Stephen Bandler did is modeled all the psychotherapists and hypnosis people on the planet, and created a modality called neuro-linguistic programming. And I was watching a documentary on Bruce Lee, and Bruce Lee figured out, after getting beat up by like 3 or 4 guys, that all this knowledge that I have as a martial artist, I know karate, I know jiu-jitsu, and I know 15 other types of martial arts, they did not help me in this situation. And what he realized was that when you get into stance and you do all this karate stuff, that takes too long. So what he did is he looked at all the martial arts and combined them as one, and he took out all the fluff. He took out all the moves. He took that all out, and then just went to pop. He just went to pop that fast. There's no reason to do all this nonsense. It just comes down to right there. These 4 inches right here, that's all that matters in this game. 4 inches. I don't have to come back to here to punch you here. I just need to go like this. Cut! And I can put all the power of that into that. And once I saw that, I realized what he was doing is he modeled all the martial arts, and he put them together as one, and he created mixed martial arts. So once I figured that, I'm like, oh, he just combined everything as one and developed a new plan for it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to combine muscle testing, hypnosis, NLP, and EFT, and I'm going to model those and create one specific type of healing, because all those together will remove trauma from the subconscious mind. One of them may do it or may not do it. One of them may be a process to do it. One of them may be a way to get to it, but not necessarily remove it. But if you combine all together as one, it becomes something like this, just shortens down to that fast. So I have basically modeled myself after Bruce Lee in the healing arts, which is now I do a mixed martial conscious healing modality that I invented. And it was just a perfect storm, basically, between my daughter and people getting sick and me seeing the patterns. So how I specifically work, and I'm trying to be as fast as I can, but this story speaks to exactly how I do it. So I'm going to tell you a little story, and it'll help you, long story short. So when I was doing all my studying, I was watching a TED talk, and the doctor was saying, this is how all doctors should work. And this is just a story. Don't take it personally. It's not real. It's like a parable in the Bible. It's not real. So long story short, me, Mike, and Tim went down to a creek to go fishing. And me, Mike, and Tim are down there at the creek, and we're at the water's edge, and we're trying to figure out where we're going to drop our lines. And this is just a story. So me, Mike, and Tim are down there, and all of a sudden I see infant babies coming down the stream. I mean, they're just coming down in the current, infant babies. So I jump out to the stream, and I'm catching as many babies as I can, but most of the babies are getting by, and I'm doing all I can to grab these infant babies. And I look over at Mike, and Mike is collecting trash. He's getting Coke bottles. He's breaking sticks. He's taking those wrappers from like beer bottles, all those little plastic wrappers where the six packs go in. He's breaking them. And I'm like, Mike, what the hell are you doing, man? Like, get in the fight. We got babies here. Help me, Mike, help me. And Mike goes, you're just catching one baby here and there. If I build a raft, I can float out in the middle, and I can catch more babies with the raft. I'm like, that'll take too much time. He's like, well, the time is necessary because I can float out there and I could get a lot more babies than you, just one at a time. And I look up and I see Tim, and Tim is walking upstream, right? And he's just walking upstream. I said, Tim, man, what the hell are you doing, man? Get in the fight. We got babies here in the water. Tim, what the hell, man? And Tim turns around. He's halfway up the stream, and he goes, I'm going to find out who's dumping babies in the water, and I'm going to put a stop to it. And that is healthcare. We as a people are downstream chasing symptoms. And we come up with very, very sophisticated ways to chase our symptoms. We become so sophisticated, it clogs our understanding of the simplicity of go upstream, find out who's dumping babies in the water, and put a stop to it. What we have done as a people is that we are down here dealing with the babies that are coming down the stream, and we get these nets to catch them. And then we realize these nets are too abrasive, so we get like a soft net, like a gel net to catch them. And then we're catching them with these nets, and then we're putting them on the side here, and we're realizing that there's no one to like raise these little babies. So then we create like an orphanage for them. And then we realize as they grow up, we need to create a college fund for them. And then we need to like get them married and do all these things. And we're creating all these things that we're doing for catching these babies. But in the real life, what we're supposed to be doing is walking upstream and stopping the factory or the person or the thing that is dumping these babies in the water. So we don't have to be forever downstream dealing with the symptoms of these babies being dumped in the water. We will be forever downstream dealing with it if we don't go upstream and put a stop to it. So what my job is as an NLP EFT practitioner is I muscle test you by your speech patterns. So I listen to your story. Tell me what happened. Okay. And this is how I And as you're talking, your voice is going to crack on certain words. Abandonment. Oh, okay. So it's abandonment. So what I do is as I'm listening to you, I hear what you're saying. And I'm able to process through like muscle testing your speech pattern, who's dumping the babies in the bathwater. So once I figure it out, like, oh, okay, I got it. I see what's going on. Then we do NLP. and EFT and hypnosis. And how we do that is you just start tapping on yourself on these portals. These portals are connected to your subconscious mind. And as you're tapping on yourself consciously, you're listening to me with earbuds in your ears. So I'm right in your head. I'm deep into your subconscious because I'm literally right in your mind. And there's no separation between us. I'm in your head, long story short. And while you're tapping on yourself, I am releasing and letting go of the trauma. I'm making sense of what the trauma did to you. I'm making sense of how it worked through your body over the last 20 years. I'm making sense of all the concepts that you've been dealing with. And then I pull them inside out like a sock, just pull it inside out, which is therefore the opposite must be true. If you can feel this bad, then inside of you today, you can feel equally as good. Not more than or better than, equally as good. It's a true yin yang concept. If you can feel this good, then within you is the ability to equally feel that bad. Same day, same hour. So we have within us this ability to tap into our subconscious mind, and then I model NLP hypnosis to reverse your belief systems about the trauma. And I literally just pull it out and I replace it with a higher vibrational frequency. Love, light, understanding, peace, honesty, clarity, and ultimately grace. Grace. Ultimately, it's grace. Grace for yourself and grace from them. Grace from what you've done. Grace from how you did it. Grace from where you've been, and grace from where you're going. And then we tap into the future a little bit and tie who and what you are now into your future goals. Because you have a plan for yourself, you have a want, you have a desire. So it's very simple here. I listen to what you were, I listen to where you are now, and I listen to what you want to be in the future. And I tie all those in, and my understanding is that you have a definiteness of purpose on this planet. And your definiteness of purpose is different from everybody's, but you have a specific definiteness of purpose of what you want to do and how you want to do it and where you want to get there, but that's impossible for you because you're healthcare right now. So my job is to get you to serve yourself and your higher power at your highest and best use. That's my job. And I realize that that's a mind, body, spirit campaign. I myself don't have the authority to do that. So as a spirit guide, I bring you to the mind, body, and spirit portal, which is going to help you understand and get you to the place where you're serving yourself and mankind at your highest and best use. And I use a ton of tools in my toolbox to do that. But ultimately, I'm not doing the healing. A higher power is doing the healing. I'm just the spirit guide to take you to this place. It's just almost impossible for us to put ourselves in a state so deep that we could get into our minds that deep and ask those very simple questions. What can I do today that would bring me, what little thing can I do today that would bring me closer to healing myself? What little thing can I do today that would bring me closer to that? Those very simple, basic questions, they're very hard for us to ask because we as a people become very sophisticated with our healing techniques. And that's why we go get these, these college degrees for these babies. And it's like, no, let's just go upstream, put an end to it so we don't have to be forever downstream dealing with the symptoms. And nobody on the planet does that. I'm not saying I'm better. I'm just saying I wish I could find somebody who could do it to me because it works every time. And it sure is wonderful. So this is my story. This is who I am. This is what I am. I'm an NLP EFT subconscious mind spirit healer. And if you are trapped in a fight or flight pattern, if nothing's working for you, If you have a chronic illness and you can't beat it, and you've been to everybody and you've done everything and nothing seems to work, and you're kind of aware that you either trauma was passed down to you from a generation before you, or you were born into this world to trauma from, your mom's craziness back in the day, or that you did experience a healthy dose of trauma going through life, and you're over 30 years old, and then something weird happened to your health care where you just can't function. And don't get me wrong, it's happened to people at 12 years old and 14 years old and 16 years old. They have it. So if you have any questions, this website will help you. Give me a call, email me. I'd be more than happy to talk to you. It's totally free. I charge $120 for an hour-and-a-half session. I charge $350 for 4 sessions. I highly recommend the 4 sessions. We can fix what's wrong with you pretty quick. But the problem is you have 20 years of stinking thinking. And we got to clear out those cobwebs, and that's what the other sessions are really about. It's just kind of like moving you from this place to that place. And that takes there's some little bridges there that we have to make and cover and support you in those gaps. Because you have a stinking thinking concept that we have to clear out, and you're used to that. You know what I mean? You know how to do you real well. So if I can help you in any way, I'm here to help. That's my story. That's how I've done it. Thanks very much. Bye-bye.